This was the trip that started it all. For years, we'd been planning short trips to enjoy the fruits of our labors for a week at a time. Months of planning went into 4 or 5 days of pure bliss and exploration. In order to enjoy a favorable weather window and a reasonable Gulf Stream crossing, we scheduled off 3 weeks of charters back home in Southwest Florida. In reality, the weather window for crossing to Bimini and getting back to Fort Lauderdale was only 5 days, with no room to spare. During our first Gulf Stream crossing on our Parker pilot house, we quickly realized that this was the life for us. There was an all-encompassing realization that in order to enjoy these remote destinations to their full potential was to live there either seasonally or full-time. Following this trip, we began a slow process of downsizing our life one piece at a time. We went from maintaining 2 different charter boats down to 1, went from 2 cars to 1, and began questioning selling our home at the height of the market in Florida. Cue Hurricane Ian. After sustaining 4 feet of storm surge in our old wood frame cottage and destroying most of our belongings, the call for a life change was as deafening as ever. While this transition has been extremely difficult and trying, we find solace in the peace that we found during this short trip to Bimini, knowing that our future lies upon the shores of the Bahamas. We're about 25 nautical miles from the coast of Fort Lauderdale, which you can barely see you probably can't see it on there, but just barely see the skyscraper still. So we're about halfway from Fort Lauderdale to Bimini. It's been super windy all week. It's been like blowing 15 to 20 knots out here out of the north, which those waves stack up against the south to north current from the Gulf Stream. So if you look this way, still a little bit of residual swell coming in from the north. Pretty rough going from Fort Lauderdale for the first 15 miles or so. Now it's starting to smooth out here a little bit in the Gulf Stream. And hopefully we'll be into Bimini about 10 o'clock in the morning. Check into customs and yeah, awesome fun few days. Quarantine flag to let the officials know we haven't checked in yet. We're at 75 feet of water here off the coast of Bimini, maybe half a mile for shore, and you can see the bottom, the structure on the bottom.
Once you arrive, you would clear immigration. So we have our stamp. See that there? And then we got our temporary cruising permit. So it is good for 3 months. However, we're only staying up to a week.
So we're on the northwest side of Bimini, way out here where there's no resort and no development, and we're walking the beach. I don't know if you could see our boat, probably a few hundred yards to the north. We're walking the beach. We came across all these old timbers, and I don't know anything about it, but there might be, this could be an old boat. A long time ago. This looks like maybe potential the keel section of the vessel down the middle of the boat. And then here's the ribs, also next to it is this big piece of stone in a perfect circle with a hole in the middle. Pretty neat, pretty wild out here in this part of Bimini.
Shipwreck over here that we'll have to do some research on, but we also found a baby nurse shark. Look at that big in the shallows up here. It's absolutely beautiful out here.
Well, we were gonna dive the Sapona, and Mother Nature had other plans. There's a storm, a little small squall that popped up moving from south to north over to Allistown and Bimini. And we had just anchored, had all the dive gear ready. We noticed one water spout, and we looked over a little bit further from that, and there was a donut hole in the sky. You couldn't really see the water spout, but you looked over maybe a couple hundred yards from the boat, and there were seagulls being swept in the water spout, and real choppy, nervous water. And so we decided to pull anchor and move maybe half a mile away, if that, from where we were at, and just give the storm some clearance. The wreck of the SS Sapona south of the Bimini Islands is a concrete ship that ran aground during a hurricane in 1926. Since then, she's slowly crumbled into the sea. She's settled in around 20 feet of water. Originally built in Wilmington, North Carolina, she's commissioned as a troop transport ship during the First World War because steel was in short supply. Following the war, she was used as a floating liquor warehouse during the American Prohibition before foundering in the shallows. Following her grounding, she was additionally used as a bombing target by the U.S. military and famously known as being used as the primary target for the infamous Navy Flight 19 that mysteriously disappeared over the Bermuda Triangle shortly after releasing their payload on her concrete hull. fun day nonetheless. It's pretty busy over here in Bimini this weekend. We had great weather so far. Should be another nice couple days throughout the middle of the week here. Nurse sharks sleeping down here. They live under this dock. They've been here the past couple days until it gets too busy. The other one's over here. That piling. Dozens of stingrays.
How'd you sleep last night?
Pretty good. Yeah, we're protected. There's a southwest wind. This is Gun Key here in Honeymoon Harbor, and the boat's behind us there. And we're in the leeward side of the island, protected pretty nice. Not too rolly. There's a few other catamarans here. And just a nice quiet anchorage.
Just out here with our animal friends. We got lots of birds, rays, curly-tailed lizards, and nurse sharks.
Cooking dinner.
Let's find that whale shark.
Nice sunset.
It's our last day here in Bimini. We are going to go to Alistown, have a bite to eat, and check out at customs, walk around a little bit. How was your trip, Steve?
Very relaxing, nice and peaceful here in Bimini. Very quiet, even on a weekend. It wasn't the summertime. I know it could get a little busier here, but it was very peaceful.